Hi guys, today let us bring us back to the subject of philosophy by starting off with a quote. Now this is a quote that I heard in a movie and it goes something like this. If you work for a living, then why do you kill yourself working? Hi guys, my name is Varun and welcome back to Arpin Bin's channel where we are decoding one of India's most renowned philosophies. But you see, the last 1 week when I didn't upload on YouTube, there are a ton of things that happened across the world. Breaking news coming out of my country of residence, India. We know that schools and colleges are going to open in the month of November. There were the Bihar elections. One of my favorite childhood James Bond, Sean Connery, passed away. The entire European continent, many nations are going into a lockdown. And of course, the famous part of last week, we were treated to some fine soap opera like drama through US elections and produce it in only the way US can. And then finally, the main event of last week, you had a crazy guy in India. He counted from 1 to 25,000 and made it a national record. Now throughout all these things that happened last week, there were just two kinds of things that were pretty prevalent. One, people were itching to go for work. Second, people were refraining from going to work. And that is exactly where the third chapter comes into play. What is working all about? What is the definition of work? What is the true purpose of work? And more importantly, what is the true definition and the deception of work that we fall into as human beings? Now you see, when we live in this such a materialistic and selfish world that we are in currently, there is a lot of misinterpretation of what work really means. Now many of us who are working in corporate companies, we would have heard a lot of bosses who say that if you do not complete your month's target, that would mean a very disdain to your very existence. Now, is this work? Is this work? Now, if someone says that I'm not going to do any work, we all can agree that that is excuse, right? But if you are pursuing a certain work, but still you are really not feeling it from within and it really doesn't resonate with you, even that is an excuse. That is an excuse for maybe a financial security or maybe for just the heck of how the work happens in a certain environment. Now, many stockbrokers, for example, they know for a fact that they need to walk away at a certain time. But the money, the gamble and everything is addicted and tuned to their minds in a way that without that, they cannot live another day. Now, that is not the work that we are associating with this book. What we are generally saying here is very simple, and that is knowing the true work and purpose of your work is something that starts from within. See, because there are two things that you have to work for in life. One, you have to work for your basic life sustenance. Now that thing is something that is very well documented in philosophy, where you don't need to depend on a second individual, including your own mother and father. You have to work for yourself in order to put a roof over your head, in order to put food in your belly. You got to work for yourself. And second most important form of work is to work to know yourself better. Working on yourself is by far the most difficult yet the most prominent thing a human being can do, but something that a lot of us fail to do in many ways. And here's where the art of questioning again becomes more important. Now, when you take a look at media channels, you would hear a lot of readers or these news anchors who jump into conclusions pretty quickly. People who do not know much about a certain crisis, but they just jump into a certain conclusion. Now, if we take that same trait and jump into conclusions about ourselves, well, that doesn't give us much to work with. And the third chapter completely says that path of action is about knowing yourself first and then interpreting your life based on your knowledge of the self. And throughout that process, the very first step is to know and listen to your inner voice. Now, I can agree for a fact, where I've experienced myself, that listening to the inner voice is easier said than done. It is really, really hard. Now, the reason for that is, you see, your inner voice in many ways would always give you signals on what is slowly about to happen. And a quick example for that is, you would have noticed sometimes when you're just a moment or a day before you catch a cold, your body will start communicating with you. The voice will start saying, maybe something is not right. Maybe you should refrain from this and it could prevent the cold. Now, this inner voice is not something that is only present to the sages and the great people or anything like that. It is present to each and every individual. And what separates the great from the rest is that they just listen to their inner voice. Now, this is a step-by-step process. And for this, we need a clear definition of the work that we are doing. And that is why the quote at the start, where I said, if you work for a living, then why do you kill yourself working? We're going to explore this subject in detail throughout these verses in the 3rd chapter. And for that, the first step is just to free your mind, and it will always lead the way. Now, that's a wrap for this particular episode. I will see you guys throughout the series. And once again, welcome back to the channel. This time it is going to be more fun. And thank you. And more importantly, I'll see you in the next episode.